Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about my thoughts on Joanna Lumley being a no-good, two-faced hypocrite. And I mean a hypocrite. She is literally now the true definition of like white Hollywood privilege. Because she recently just made a statement that when I read it, I'm all like, this woman proved what I said about like a year ago. So a year ago, I made a video about Joanna Lumley. She's a British actress. And she said Idris Elba had no business playing like James Bond because of his race. And I thought to myself, she's a hypocrite because she's playing like, which I assumed at that time, a Mexican version of Grandmama in the Wednesday Addams show. I've since deleted that video because I'm still not 100% sure what race Morticia Addams and Grandmama are. And see, the thing is, the Addams family is a white Spaniard characters, right? They're a white Spaniard family. And so Netflix decided to cast Jenna Ortega, Luis Guzman, and whoever playing Pugsley as Mexicans. So that made everybody assume that, okay, they race bent the Addams family to Mexican, right? I mean, it would make sense. I mean, Jenna Ortega, she is Mexican, the lead actress. The father's Mexican, the brother's Mexican, and plus, Jenna Ortega made some statements about race bending characters and stuff like that. So hopefully she's not playing a white girl, even though she played one in that unicorn movie. So she's a little bit of a hypocrite. But anyway, so a lot of people, including myself, assume that the Addams family are Mexican and stuff. And so three of the members are like, well, two of the members are white. And I forget the dude, what race he is that plays Uncle Fester. I forget what race he is. I think he's Jewish and something else. But anyway. So I started getting confused, like, hey, what race are they? You know what I'm saying? And so I assumed Grandmama was going to be an Addams because normally she's depicted as one, but they decided to go back to old school and make her a Fump. And they made her Morticia's actual mother. Kind of like she was back in the old days before the 90s movies came out and they made her an Addams. So I'm like, oh, okay. So perhaps that Gomez is race bent to be Mexican, which will explain the two kids, and maybe Morticia is actually just playing a white lady. And if that's her mom, maybe she's playing a white woman. But still, I have no idea because they haven't fully said in the show. So I just decided to erase that video, right? However, she put out a statement, and I'll get to the James Bond thing a little bit later, but she recently just put out a statement about playing an LGBT character, straight people that is, and it's so hypocritical that I'm just kind of like, yo, this woman is two-faced, like she's beyond two-faced. She can't have her cake and eat it too. Because of the simple fact of something that she said in the past when it came to Idris Elba and playing James Bond. So recently, there's been debate now because of the rollback of DEI and the attack on the LGBT community. You know, how often will you start to see them being in like projects and stuff, right? And so that's what's going on in Hollywood today and everything. And so a person who has appeared on RuPaul's Drag Race and everything, she said that straight people should play like, well, she said the Q word. And if you know me, I don't use the Q word because that used to be a slanderous word back in the day. And I don't use slurs, I just say LGBT. So she said straight people should play LGBT characters. She said the world in Hollywood would be pretty boring if they didn't. And, if the role is for like a lesbian, and if a lesbian gets that role, then, then a straight person should be able to play that role as well and shouldn't be denied because they're straight. And I'm thinking to myself, what is this woman like getting on about? Like, the reason they cast an actual lesbian to play an actual lesbian nowadays is because of representation. Because of the simple fact, the thing about Hollywood is this. Now, I don't know the terminology for Hollywood in the UK. I'm just going to call it Hollywood. That's the American term. And Canada is North Hollywood. Weird North Hollywood. Yeah, come up with something different, Canada. Anyways, the reason why Hollywood is pressing for more representation when it comes to just anything, race, gender, sexuality, stuff like that, is because a lot of them get denied back in the old days, you know? If they wanted a person to play a drag queen, then they will get a straight man who's never done drag before. Wesley Snipes, John Leguizamo, and whoever the other person was, they played drag queens in this movie. I forget the name of the movie, Tuan Fu or something like that. And I've never seen it, and I don't know how they played those characters. I don't know if they played stereotypes or they just played them as whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, why couldn't that role go to an actual drag queen? And the reason is because in the 90s, people hated the LGBT community. There was no way an actual drag queen was going to get that actual role. You know, it just was not going to be possible. And then, like, take the movie Terror Train that came out in either 80s or something like that with Jamie Lee Curtis. They cast an actual drag queen type person. At least I think that's what he was. If he wasn't that, then he was something else. But they cast him to play, like, you know, a person who cross dresses and stuff, you know? And that dude was never ever an actor. He was just somebody they found off the street. He had a horrible time because the director bullied him just to get a performance out of him. And he didn't understand why this man was calling him all kind of nasty names and this and that. You know? And I'm trying to think of something else. It's also like with gay characters. Normally, if a straight man plays a gay character, they amp up their performance in a very stereotypical kind of way. Yes, some gay men do act very stereotypical, like the way you see them on screen, but other ones act just as macho as like a straight man. Like, take Modern Family, Cam and Mitchell. Mitchell is an actual gay man playing a gay character. Cam was a straight man playing a gay character. Mitchell acted like the straightforward, grumpy guy, and Cam acted like the overly flamboyant gay man that loves sparkles and glitter and everything like that. And, you know, it makes you wonder if a straight man was to play it, would it still be considered a stereotype? Would it not? Would he have played it differently? You know, even the dude who played Mitchell said, you know, he had a lot riding on him on his shoulders because he's a gay man representing his own people and everything, you know. And this is something that you just didn't see in television at that time. That was 2011 when that show came out, I think. And when you take roles from actual people of representation, they don't get no acting jobs. They don't get to improve on their acting. They don't get to show their people in a good light. They don't get to tell the director or the producer or the writer, hey, you know, you might not want to go down that route. It makes our people look bad. Why not do this to make people like us more because they hate us so much? You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get that with a straight person. A straight person is just going to play the role, collect that paycheck, and that is that, you know? And also, when it comes to the LGBT community, they also, when they're not being made fun of for everybody's amusement, like back in the old days, they was considered like horrible, like in slasher movies. The Silence of the Lambs. Buffalo Bill was a cross-dresser and everything, and that man went around killing women and skinning their bodies and wearing their bodies as like clothes. And that really pissed off, like the LGBT community, because they're like, hey, how come every time there's a slasher movie, the killer just happens to be somebody who cross-dresses or something? And that was also the same way the movie Cherry Falls that came out either late 90s or early 2000s and stuff. So, when you do, like I said before, when you get these straight people playing these roles and everything, they're not doing it in the best interest. They're doing for whatever, like, money reason and however the person wrote it. And it's always for the amusement of straight people and everything. Like, there's been so many roles I've seen of straight people playing LGBT characters from like the 90s and stuff. Every gay man was always flamboyant. And so that made me assume, hey, that's how all of them act. And yes, some of them do act that way and some of them don't. I had a friend in high school who was gay. He was kind of flamboyant, kind of girlish, but still acted like a regular like person and stuff. He wasn't like over the top. He just had a little bit of a squeaky voice and smiled a lot and everything. And so when it comes to her saying that, oh, well, life would be boring, Hollywood would be boring if we don't get to play these roles and stuff. No, that's called privilege. That's called you want to be front and center in front of the camera and everybody gawk at you and everything. That's called they see the writing on the wall and realize they're going to get less acting jobs if people of actual representation take those representation type roles, and it's going to take money away from them. Take Natasha Lyonne. She is a straight woman. She has plenty of friends in the LGBT community. She's played lesbians in the past. She recently said in an interview with Melanie Lipnicki, I think that's her name, from Yellow Jacket. She recently just said she's not going to play another lesbian role again because that certain representation needs to go to an actual lesbian and she does not want to take it from them. She gets it in the head. And then I read in the comment section, people of the LGBT community, or at least they say they are, saying like, no, we give you a pass. You can play as many lesbians as you want. They're only saying that because they like her, and some of them like her, and everything. Which is something I've noticed when it comes to the LGBT community. If there's somebody there that they like a lot, they don't care if that person plays like an LGBT role and everything. But then those are the same people who complain when they see those stereotypes on television played by straight people and stuff. Make up your mind, make it make sense. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But it wasn't just the LGBT. She also said nationality and everything. And it's just kind of like, wait, hold up. What is she getting at now? Like, nationality and stuff. Like, is she talking about like a British person playing an American or an American playing a British person? Nobody really cares too much when it's about that. Except for like when they don't pull off the accent very well. Like one thing I know about British people, they complain when Americans take on British roles and their accents are not up to par. They're all like, they sound horrible, they sound terrible. Not everybody has the same generic accent, and they do get like offended by that and everything. But then it's kind of like, well, hold up. So she wants straight people to play LGBT roles. She wants people to play whatever nation they want to. But yet she has a problem when it comes to Idris Elba playing James Bond. So about 8 years ago, this is when the huge debate about Idris Elba playing James Bond. Around this time, Daniel Craig was out. They're still to this day looking for a new Bond. A lot of people say it should be a black man. Some people say it should be a woman. But the whole debate is a lot of people want to see a black man take on that role, especially Idris Elba. Plenty of people have said that, black, white, you name it. However, there are some people like Joanna and everything who feel like Idris Elba has no business playing that role. So basically, She said that since Idris Elba is black, he should not play James Bond because that is not how the creator intended that character to be. So it's like, well, yeah, because it was different times back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was like so many years ago. The creator is white himself. He probably pictured himself in that role and everything. And so he's going to write what he knows, and he's going to write what people are going to want to read. Ain't nobody going to read about a black spy back in the olden days and everything. No British person was going to read about an Indian person playing James Bond back in those days, or a woman. So they had to make it a straight white man, and a womanizer at that. That's just how a lot of things are. Just like with the whole Little Mermaid debate. She's set in the Caribbean. Well, who's in the Caribbean? Black people. But this came out hundreds of years ago. And ain't no white people gonna read about a black mermaid and everything. So, of course, that's how he intended it, but things can always change after all these decades and all these multiple actors playing it. But because the dude's not black in the books and black on screen, she has a problem with that. But this was 8 years ago. Maybe she's changed her tune. Who knows? But then it's kind of like, so you got a problem with the black man playing that of like a white man, but you don't have a problem with the straight person playing a gay person. So now this makes you wonder about the Wednesday show she's on. If Charles Adams intended for the Adams family to be white Spaniards and everything from a Spanish type like country, then how does she feel about Jenna Ortega, Luis Guzman, and the other dude being race swapped to play these white Spaniards and everything? Does she have a problem with that? If she does not, then once again, she is a hypocrite. How does she feel about playing Grandmama when the intention for Grandmama is to be an overweight woman with scraggly hair and stuff like that? And a big nose when she's playing her as a thin, glamorous woman. That's not the way she was intended. So this woman is a hypocrite, and she is so two-faced and stuff. This is what I've been saying for years. This is the epitome of white Hollywood privilege when they want to do whatever they want to do and play whatever role they want to play, and just because they want a paycheck. And when they start seeing things are a changing in the world and everything and changing in Hollywood, then they're all like, crap. Like if they start getting like people of color to play people of color and straight people, gay people to play gay people, what about us and everything? That means they're going to be out of a job. This is why people like Matt Dillon made that rude, nasty comment he did about diversity and everything. He saw the wheels changing and he realized he's not going to be able to hop on board. Helen Mirren, she made a very similar comment about like diversity and everything, because she sees the wheels turning and she ain't gonna be able to hop on that little bandwagon and stuff. And whenever you hear a white star saying something like this, that literally means they see everything is changing and stuff, and it's not changing in their benefit. But that is so wrong. It's like they don't want people of color, the LGBT and women, to have certain roles in Hollywood, because it means less money in their piggy bank and everything. And that's just so nasty and everything, in my opinion. So once again, I'm going to say what I'm always saying. This woman is a hypocrite. This woman is two-faced. This woman is literally white Hollywood privilege and stuff. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.